I'm the most favored noble consort in the palace. After I got pregnant unexpectedly, I gained the ability to hear thoughts. The emperor touched my belly. The baby isn't mine, but my wife is mine. Better to be a little muddled. Can't you be cared for in old age without blood ties? Me, 01. I'm the #1 layabouts in the capital. I had only one life goal, to marry the emperor and have his babies, but getting into the palace wasn't easy. Still, I didn't have to try too hard, after all. I had a brilliant father. Shinyu had been picking wild herbs in the cold palace when we were childhood sweethearts. Then my father fought his way through and easily put Shinyu, the late emperor's only son, on the throne. Naturally, I became his noble consort without a hitch, but my lifelong goal only took its first step. As for babies, I could only worry in vain, because Shinyu never slept with me. But he did favor Lady Liu every few days. How did I know? The scratch marks on his neck needed 2 handkerchiefs to cover. I was about to fail my year-end performance review again. I couldn't take it anymore. I asked my father for 2 jars of top-tier 1000 Li incense wine, and successfully got Shinyu drunk. Of course, I wasn't much sober myself. Before I blacked out, I thought, this wine is strong. When I opened my eyes, I saw Shinyu with an indescribable expression, and my own clothes in disarray. I grinned. Who said I couldn't manage without my father? Here was my chance to show off. Ignoring Shinyu's face black as a pot bottom, I happily began nursing my pregnancy. Hard work pays off. After 30 bowls of fertility medicine, I finally got pregnant, but there was something strange about this pregnancy. I seemed to gain the ability to hear thoughts. For example, Shinyu smiled and touched my belly, but in his head he muttered, "Can 2 women get pregnant?" I thought I misheard. Then, whatever. The baby isn't mine, but my wife is mine. Better to be a little muddled. Can't you be cared for in old age without blood ties? I gaped, staring at the serious man in front of me. He looked solemn, but when he glanced at me, his eyes sparkled with warmth. Jinan, who do you think the baby will look more like? Anyone would think he was a thoughtful, loving husband, but I heard a sigh in my ear. I'm getting old. I should see a little of myself in someone else's child. Me, 02. I lay on the bed, looking ashen, thinking about life. I didn't even notice when Shinyu left. My head was full of one thing. She's a woman. The perfect son-in-law my father picked out is a woman. But I had no peace. My worst enemy, Lady Liu, arrived. I didn't want to fight her to the death every time we met, but unfortunately, Shinyu's harem only had 2 of us. If we didn't fight, was I supposed to play leaf card games with Shinyu all day? But I acted completely different today. I excitedly grabbed Lady Liu's hand. I'm pregnant. Lady Liu jumped in shock, but she'd seen too much to panic long. She recovered quickly and pushed my hand away in disgust. What's the big deal? Anyone can have a baby. But I was about to ask if she'd noticed anything strange about Shinyu, when she cut me off with a deliberate, fake tone. His Majesty said I'm still young, no rush to have children, but her inner voice betrayed her. Damned Shinyu, Song Jinan is pregnant, and he only makes me play leaf cards all night. I fell silent. Lady Liu thought I was being shy and stormed off in a huff. I stared at her furious back. The joy of beating her in our petty rivalry was gone. My mind was unusually clear. No wonder Shinyu never slept with me. No wonder she wore 2 silk scarves around her neck even in the hottest weather. I never once guessed she was a woman. She really fooled my father good. But just as I wiped a sad tear for my father, I realized a problem. 2 women can't get pregnant. Then, whose baby is in my belly? Before I could figure it out, the head eunuch beside Shinyu walked in. Noble consort, His Majesty requests your presence in the imperial study. I fell off my stool in terror. I'm done. She's going to deal with me. Father, help. 03. Still, I was dragged to the imperial study. I took a deep breath at the door and pushed it open like I was facing death. After all, Shinyu was a woman. She dared not make a bigger fuss than I did. But unlike my caution, the hall was strangely lively, not because ministers were discussing affairs, because Shinyu was reviewing memorials while complaining in her head. Minister Liu's handwriting looks like a dog's paw scratched it. Tutor Jiang has a bad brain but knows how to trick people. General Li, better retire early. Censor Sun, I've hated him for ages. Execute his whole clan. Yikes. Terrifying. I stared at the hard-working Shenyu and twitched my mouth wordlessly, but she kept going. Prime Minister Song has done well. Shame he's not the emperor. Me, in Shenyu's court. Was there a second Prime Minister Song besides my father? No. I knelt with a thud. Your servant. Greets your majesty. The hall fell silent. Shenyu looked up from the memorials, staring at me blankly. Jinan, you're here. I kept my head down, respectful and obedient. Before I could think of words to defend my father, the Empress Dowager walked in, along with the head eunuch. He smiled obsequiously. Congratulations, Your Majesty, Lady Liu is with child. I froze on the spot. Shenyu wasn't much better, she screamed inwardly. Jinan at least got me drunk, but Lady Liu is way too bold. I didn't even touch a finger of hers, but the Empress Dowager thought differently. She beamed from ear to ear. My son. Mother can only help you this much. 04. Shenyu stayed silent for a full quarter of an hour. The wolf hairbrush in her hand fell, smudging the whole memorial. But her thoughts still reached my ears. I'm done for. Jinan must have misunderstood. Me. Misunderstood what? Misunderstood how one woman gets another pregnant. I shrank in the corner, not knowing whether to be happy or worried. I should have been happy. The emperor I fought Lady Liu for seemed to care more about me. But who wanted to fight over a woman? Before I could dislike her, I realized I was overthinking. What Shenyu cared about wasn't even me. She still sat there silently, like she hadn't processed the news. No one would guess that the glorious, noble emperor was digging up old grudges in her head. Last time Lady Liu touched me, I had to give her a whole box of southern pearls to calm her down. 2 days ago, I was late by mistake, and she stole the fox fur from my private treasury. This time, when will she leave my little treasury alone? I rubbed my nose guiltily. Isn't it only right for an emperor to support his consorts? But dared I say that? No. So I bowed my head, trying to shrink into nothing. Still, I couldn't escape. The Empress Dowager glared fiercely at Shenyu, then walked to me. Jinan, get up. She looked at me warmly, like a kind elder. But in her head, she was roaring. Son, she's our biggest support. How could you let her kneel? Well, she wasn't wrong. Before entering the palace, my father rambled and held my hand. Jinan, Shenyu will rely on our Song family from now on. So don't hold back in the palace, cause trouble, stir up the harem. I'm truly my father's daughter. I never let him down. As soon as I entered the palace, I fought with Lady Liu over a golden hairpin, even though I had a whole box of them. But we'd hated each other since childhood. I had to save face, and besides, if we didn't fight, was I supposed to just play leaf cards with Shenyu? Especially since that fool Shenyu always lost. Winning got boring. But Shenyu's mother was much smarter than her. She glanced at me and knew I shouldn't hear what came next, so she called for the royal carriage and sent me back nicely. I thought it was unnecessary. They couldn't hide their thoughts from me anyway. I'd find out sooner or later. But I had to give the Empress Dowager some face. My father said she looked kind, but was actually the craftiest of all. Made sense. To survive and rise to Empress Dowager in this man-eating palace, you needed bloody, invisible methods. Better to play it safe. I left. But before I left, I heard Shenyu wailing inside. Why is the Prime Minister's memorial smudged? Do I have to pay again? Whatever. Deduct it from Minister Liu's salary. He's rich anyway. Why is every minister richer than me? How did my sharp father and this clever Empress Dowager let a fool like this sit on the throne? But no one had a choice. The late emperor only left one child. Oh right, one daughter. None of that mattered to me right now. What I cared about most was, why was the Empress Dowager's carriage taking me to Lady Liu's Eternal Joy Palace? Before I could order it to turn around, I saw Lady Liu's head maid. She stood at the gate, like she'd known I was coming. In a second, I understood everything. Money makes the world go round. Minister Liu, a lowly 9th-rank official, got his daughter into the palace just because his family was rich. So it was no surprise his daughter had bribed the Empress Dowager's people to send me here. But this suited me just fine. I wanted to see exactly what kind of precious treasure was in Lady Liu's belly. 05. I stepped down from the carriage and looked up. Eternal Joy Palace was brightly lit. At first glance, Nothing seemed off, but looking closer, I suddenly got Shunyu. No wonder every time she lost cards at my place, she'd come here to challenge Lady Liu. I thought she was trying to regain her pride, but now I saw if I were short on money, I'd cling to someone this rich and foolish too. After all, even the plaque above the palace gate was edged with gold. One thing still confused me, though. If she was this rich, why did she insist on stealing my golden hairpin? Could it be that I stole a few cakes from her as kids? And she'd hated me ever since, but Shunyu stole from her too. Why didn't she pick on Shunyu? I didn't get to finish the thought. Lady Liu appeared. She stood sharply at the hall entrance, frowning. Song Jinan, why are you dawdling? Hurry up. Her tone was as sharp as always, but I didn't bicker with her this time. I wasn't going to be petty. My father was the Prime Minister. After all, a Prime Minister's belly can hold a boat, and so can his daughter. So for once, I didn't snap back. I even took the time to admire the decorations in her palace. Usually we were at each other's throats. I'd never had the chance to appreciate these rare green plums from the south. But when I followed her into the inner chamber, I realized how naive I'd been. The misty silk I'd carefully treasured. She was using it as a tablecloth, and southern pearls as big as my fist were just scattered on the floor. My heart ached, but before I could scold her for wasting treasure, she pushed me onto a pearwood stool. She stared at me, glum and embarrassed. Finally, she blurted, Song Jinan, I'm pregnant too. I nodded blankly. I'd already heard in the imperial study. I thought she'd brag, but she didn't. She looked like she was about to cry, tears glistening at the corners of her eyes. Yet she said nothing, but I knew everything anyway. After she left me, she'd ordered the imperial physician to bring fertility medicine. She'd only just drunk it when the physician suddenly announced she had a pregnancy pulse. Right after that, news of her pregnancy was sent out. Now she was panicking inside. I'm done for. His Majesty never touched me. Can you get pregnant from playing leaf cards at night? Song Jinan will laugh her head off if she finds out. I would laugh my head off, but not at her. I'd almost guessed the truth. But was I going to tell her? No, I wasn't some bodhisattva here to save everyone. Besides, she'd targeted me so many times. Let her sweat a little. I hadn't even left long when news came from Eternal Joy Palace. Lady Liu had an accident. 06. I was lying on the bed, trying to figure out how to probe Shunyu, when my headmaid rushed in. Noble consort, Lady Liu has had an accident. I shot up. It wasn't that I cared about her, but I left right before something happened to her. Everyone would think I framed her. I trembled, suddenly fired up. Father, your harem survival manual is finally useful. But when I got dressed and rushed over, I realized I'd overthought. Lady Liu looked weak, but she was still full of energy. Throw all these round and flat things out. I saw a whole box of southern pearls, bigger and better than the ones I'd gotten from Shunyu. My heart hurt worse than being framed. Shunyu, who'd hurried over, looked even worse. Her eyes screamed two words. I want them. Lady Liu didn't notice her arrive. She buried her face in my chest, crying like a child. What do I do, Song Jinan? I think I cheated on Shunyu. Shunyu's face did turn green, but not because of Lady Liu. It was because, how dare they hug each other? Me, we're all women. What's wrong with a hug? But Shunyu was even more childish than I thought. She coughed deeply, pretending to be solemn. Lady Liu went stiff in an instant. She turned around, tears in her eyes. Your Majesty, Shunyu grunted coldly, but inside she sighed. Only I can hug her. I looked away, speechless. She was such a hypocrite. And what kind of quirk was this? Liking to hug women. Before I could think more, Shunyu dragged me away by the arm. She only said one thing. Lady Liu is delicate. Stay in the palace and rest well. I twitched my mouth. She was such a liar. Lady Liu had stepped on a pearl and twisted her ankle, but she was strong enough to beat both me and Shunyu combined, so she wasn't going to investigate or explain. I stared at the sky, helpless. No investigation was fine, but no explanation, not acceptable. Maybe my gaze was too eager. Shunyu stopped on the way to the study. She glanced at me, then gave in and walked back to my Eternal Peace Palace with me. I didn't ask right away. She'd been complaining enough on the way, but I needed her to say it out loud so what I did next would make sense. So I smiled and took out her favorite leaf cards. Even quietly letting her win several rounds, sure enough, within an incense stick's time, I had her wrapped around my finger. She counted her golden beans happily, then raised an eyebrow. Jinan, don't you? My heart skipped, I tensed up. Did Shinyu also have mind-reading powers now? But I soon realized I was overthinking. Shinyu leaned lazily against the table, eyes half-lidded, and was complaining in her head. What a change. She was so stupid as a kid, now she has brains. I should ask the Prime Minister what crash course he gave her. Prime Minister really is wasted not being Emperor. Me, I'll just take that as a compliment. 07. Just as I thought. This whole thing was the Empress Dowager's idea. Shinyu was too much of an idiot to come up with something this sneaky. But it wasn't complicated. When the late emperor was dying, the Empress Dowager had just become pregnant. To stop people from harming her child, they'd hidden in the cold palace, biding their time. Then came the part one knew. My father took a fancy to Shinyu in the cold palace. He fought off all the warring princes and put Shinyu on the throne. He hadn't wanted me to enter the palace at first. He'd seen how dangerous it was, but I'd lost my mother young, and I was a good actress. All I had to do was squeeze out fake tears and say, "Father, I understand your pain, but my love for Shinyu is true, I can't hold back," and my father gave in, so did my older brother, who'd rushed back from the border to beat Shinyu up, but now I regretted it more than anything. True love, all nonsense. It all started with Lady Liu. We'd just never gotten along. She'd used her money to steal from me again and again. The last plate of cakes at Furong Tower, the only piece of misty silk at Kiluoxuan, masterpieces you couldn't buy at Linglong. Thanks to her father, she always won, so when he sent her to the palace for the family glory, I packed my things and entered too without looking back. I just wanted to teach her, money can't buy everything. No matter how rich she was, I still outranked her in the harem. But neither of us ever guessed the person we fought over was a woman, and to keep up the act, when the Empress Dowager heard I'd gotten Shinyu drunk and taken fertility medicine, she told the imperial physician to fake my pregnancy pulse. She was just that scared someone would doubt her child's identity. But she was overthinking it. If the emperor had no sons, everyone would just think he was impotent. Who'd doubt her gender? I'd slept next to her for so long, and I never noticed. One more thing confused me. Wouldn't one baby be enough to prove Shinyu's ability? Why make Lady Liu pregnant too? How was I supposed to show off? Competing with Lady Liu was in my bones. So Jinan, Shinyu yawned, exhausted. Can I sleep now? I stared at the night outside, even though I knew it wasn't Shinyu's fault. My chest still felt tight, but I couldn't blame her, really. Back then, she'd risked my father breaking her legs to climb over my wall in the middle of the night. She'd begged me for a whole night, saying she didn't want to hold me back, that I should find someone else. But what did I do? Oh right, I kicked her out and pointed at her nose. You go tell Lady Liu, I'm entering this palace. No takebacks. Right, I used to think all this was Lady Liu's doing. 08, I don't remember how I fell asleep. All I know is that when I opened my eyes, Shinyu's big face was right in front of me again. She frowned, looking disgusted. Song Jinan, what girl sleeps for 6 whole hours like you? I rubbed my eyes and pouted. So what? I don't have to go to morning court. Besides, I was the capital's #1 layabout. Even Lady Liu couldn't compete with me at slacking off. What was wrong with sleeping a little more? Shinyu clearly thought the same. Her face darkened even more. She said coldly, move over. And I must have been too tired last night. My brain wasn't working. By the time I realized what was happening, her head was already on my chest. Emmy, we'd slept together before, when she dragged me into all-night leaf card games. But back then I was half-dead tired, and she was my husband. I never thought anything of cuddling up. But now, father, help, I'm being harassed by a woman. My father obviously couldn't save me. I had to handle it myself. But when I finally pushed her away and got dressed, a cold snort came from behind. Where are you going, noble consort? I stiffened and turned around, forcing a fake smile. Your servant was going to visit Lady Liu for a chat. Heh, is that so? That lazy tone made me tremble. But no one would guess that the cold-faced Shinyu was screaming inside. I'm so mad. Song Jinan has secrets with someone else. Me, I have plenty of secrets, and Shinyu really had no shame when she acted coquettish. Even the girls in the pleasure houses couldn't compare, but dared I say it? No, so I covered my goosebumps and ran for my life. In Eternal Joy Palace, Lady Liu sat on a stone bench, staring blankly at a hairpin. Her eyes lit up when she saw me. Song Jinan, you mean? I nodded blankly. Only after gaining mind reading did I realize what a huge misunderstanding I'd had. But the next second, I spat out my flower tea, because this idiot Lady Liu, blushing shyly, said something outrageous. You mean, the baby in my belly is your brother's? Me, my brother can't take such a treasonous crime. I didn't understand. My brother was the army commander. How did he fall for someone with such a weird brain? But for my brother's future, I forced a smile and said gently, I mean, I found out about your little affair, eh? Just as I expected, her smile vanished completely. She went pale, looking utterly defeated. I wasn't much better. I stared at her in disbelief. I really couldn't understand how her mind worked. Can you believe, all the fights she picked with me since childhood were just to get my brother's attention, and that bastard brother of mine actually fell for it. Father, our family is doomed. But before my father could discipline anyone, this star-crossed pair was torn apart. The one who split them up was none other than idiot Shinyu. Still, it wasn't her fault. Back then, she'd climbed over not just my wall, but Lady Liu's too, unfortunately. Lady Liu didn't enter the palace by choice. She was forced by Minister Liu, so when my brother rushed back from the border to beat Shinyu up, it wasn't for me, it was for Lady Liu, and that golden hairpin he sent into the palace, it was their token of love, being returned to her. But we'd just entered the palace then. The maid delivering it couldn't tell us apart, so she only said my brother's name, and their love token ended up with me. But after last night's incident, Lady Liu repeated numbly in her head, snow and wind weigh on the capital, red walls trap me for life, Song Mingan, next life, please marry me early, woo-woo. Song Mingan was my brother's name. In an instant, all of Lady Liu's confusing, unexplainable behaviors finally made sense, and the daughter-in-law my father had always dreamed of finally had a name. 09, Your Majesty has worked so hard lately, have some soup to replenish yourself. Red lanterns hung high, no festival in sight. I'd made a pot of tonic soup for Shinyu, but she didn't even look up, speaking casually. Want something from me? I pouted secretly, touching my nose guiltily. Is it that obvious? Shinyu really did know me best. She raised an eyebrow, saw right through me at a glance. For Lady Liu, I rubbed my hands and grinned. What Lady Liu? That's our sister-in-law, Shinyu. I don't decide this. You have to ask the Empress Dowager. Me, if I dared ask her, I wouldn't be here begging you. But was I going to give up easily? No. Before I could whine and bargain with her, a gentle voice came from behind. Jinan, you want to send Lady Liu out of the palace? I froze and turned stiffly. The Empress Dowager had appeared behind me without me noticing. But she wasn't angry like I feared. She smiled, eyes warm and kind. I had no choice but to nod, bracing for a scolding. Unexpectedly, she took my hand and said lightly, letting Lady Liu leave is possible. But Jinan, you have to stay. I looked up, meeting her hopeful, loving gaze. I could barely believe it, but I quickly understood the catch. More than the money behind Lady Liu, Shinyu needed loyal ministers like my father. This was her way of giving an olive branch to my father, using someone else's daughter. The Empress Dowager's move was brilliant. Before I could nod, two thoughts rang in my ears. Shinyu, if you dare refuse. Song Jinan, I'll break your legs. Empress Dowager, son, mother can only help you this much. Me, in the end, my legs stayed intact. Lady Liu grabbed my hand, excited. Song Jinan, I'm finally joining your family. Me, who would have thought, the bold words she'd shouted in anger years ago, were really her wish. Before I could tease her, my brother's fake smile came from behind. Oh really, Liu Yining? Then why didn't you agree when I begged you, Lady Liu? I laughed out loud at her miserable face, but my joy didn't last. My brother flicked my forehead hard. Song Jinan, don't you dare bully my wife again. Me, father, help. I raised a traitor, but my father was too busy to care about me. He was in the imperial study, bargaining with the Empress Dowager. I just found out, besides making me stay in the palace. She also wanted my brother to send his first child with Lady Liu into the palace for me to raise. Me, can I refuse? I'm still a child myself. But my father was no match for the Empress Dowager. He touched my head worriedly. Jinan, if you change your mind, send me a message, I'll take you home right away. As soon as he spoke, I felt Shinyu stiffen. She stared at me hopefully, full of anxiety, looking into her eyes. I suddenly let go, male or female, who cares, as long as she lets me slack off. She's a good emperor, so I lifted my chin, pretending to be arrogant. Only a fool goes back on their path. My father, after Lady Liu left, the huge palace felt even emptier, but Shinyu and I were never bored. After all, the treasures left in Eternal Joy Palace would keep me busy counting for a long time. And Shinyu, she stayed in the study every day, either reviewing memorials, or about to review memorials. I had to admit, even though she was a woman, she was a truly good emperor. Even my father praised her non-stop. I thought life would go on peacefully like this. But the truth couldn't stay hidden forever. Sooner or later, it would all come out. 10. It was the 3rd month of the year, when flowers bloomed everywhere. Shunyu held 100 flowers banquet in the palace to strengthen relations with the ministers. As the most favored noble consort, I had to dress up beautifully. But Shunyu was completely unromantic. She shot me a sharp look. Noble consort dresses very expensively. Me, that's why she's called a noble consort. Unexpectedly, in the short time I went to the side hall to change clothes, someone drugged Shinyu. My head hurt. Whoever drugged her was definitely not a man. When I rushed over, I saw Minister Liu's confused niece, and Shinyu blocking the door from inside. I didn't have time for the people outside. I ordered someone to hold Lady Liu's cousin, then knocked on the door. Before I could speak, a sharp shout came from inside. Get out! Several muffled grunts followed. I swallowed nervously. Maybe because she was a woman, Shinyu had always been gentle. This version of her felt strange, but I quickly snapped back and sent for the imperial physician again. I knocked once more and said softly, Shinyu, it's me. Those 4 words froze the air completely. The door flew open, and the next moment, I fell into a burning hot embrace. Shinyu nuzzled my neck. Hot. I widened my eyes in shock. Shinyu. Maybe my voice was too shaky. Maybe she recognized my call. Shinyu sobered for a split second, her forehead pressed against mine, breathing heavily. Jinan, I'm so hot. Her eyes began to blur again. But thankfully, the imperial physician arrived just then. I finally had time to question the culprit outside. And what I discovered shocked me to the core. I never imagined there were 2 people behind drugging Shinyu. And so, before Shinyu even woke up, the news that the emperor is a woman spread to every corner of the palace. 11. The atmosphere in the imperial study was tense. Even the Empress Dowager sitting above and my father frowned deeply. Outside, a crowd was gathering. One wrong move, and loyalty between ruler and ministers could shatter. But the situation took an unexpected turn. The Minister of Right's daughter lifted her chin. You say His Majesty is a woman, then I want to learn from her. The cavalry general's daughter clasped her cheeks. That essay His Majesty wrote last month was amazing. The Grand Tutor's granddaughter blinked. Woo-woo, can I come often to ask about His Majesty's calligraphy? When Shinyu opened her eyes, she was surrounded by girls staring at her with starry eyes. Your Majesty, this new 100 flowers trailing dress from Kiluoxuan would look lovely on you. Your Majesty, let me put this new Rui hairpin from Linglong in your hair. Your Majesty. Would you like some furong cakes from Furong Tower? The Empress Dowager and my father were stunned. They stared at the scene, twitching at the corners of their mouths, expressions unnatural. After a long while, they found their voices. The Empress Dowager teared up. Youth is wonderful. My father glanced at me. Jinan, now that you have more sisters, don't bully them. Me. By the time we sent the last noble lady out of the palace, it was already late at night. But the Empress Dowager did not forget business. She frowned and ordered Minister Liu's 2 nieces brought forward. Drag them out, give them 30 strokes, and send them to Yuchuan Temple to be nuns. With that, she left without looking back. My father was shocked again. He stared at her retreating figure, muttering, even Even the Empress Dowager has grown kind. I rolled my eyes at him. If not forced by circumstances, what woman would want a reputation for killing without shedding blood? Those early years had been far too hard for the Empress Dowager and Shenyu. 12. After sending my father away, I returned to Eternal Peace Palace. Song Jinan, a clear voice called. I looked up. Shenyu was sitting by the window, wearing that 100 flowers trailing dress, smiling at me. When she saw me, she raised her chin proudly. Song Jinan, you'd better hold on to me tight, or someone else might steal me away. I laughed softly. Yes, I must cherish you well. Such a pretty girl wouldn't stay mine for long otherwise. She smiled back at me, her eyes shining like starlight. The moonlight was hazy. Shenyu and I lay on the bed. She asked me, Song Jinan, why did you enter the palace back then? Me. Can I not answer? After all, I'd come voluntarily, partly to spite Lady Liu, but back then, I'd really liked Shenyu. She was the only one who, even eating bran and wild herbs, would comfort me. When I'm rich, I'll buy you so many furong cakes, more than Liu Yining's. Later, she kept her promise. The money she saved, penny by penny, became furong cakes, flowing fairy dresses, plum blossom hairpins, sent to the Prime Minister's house one by one. How could I not have fallen for her? But looking at her proud face, I pretended to be annoyed. Shenyu, you owe me a man. Song Jinan, you're lying on my hair.